What if I were to suggest that you play a key role in the awakening world? And that you are watching this because you have heard the call. We can start right now by opening our hearts and minds. Welcome to the awakening world.
Good evening, everybody. I am Love Coach Scott Thomas. I'm so enjoying being the host and the producer of The Awakening World, and I want to welcome you. We do 3 shows every week, and tonight's show is one that I'm super excited about because all of the presenters are people that I love, admire, and have had really wonderful personal relationships with, as well as professional relationships with, which is rather appropriate because the show is all about relationships tonight. So welcome. It's going to be a really, really wonderful show. I see a lot of our familiar friends that are in the Zoom room, and let us know where you are geographically, and let us know how the weather is where you are. It's wintertime here in North America, and so there's snows and rivers and atmospheric rivers, I should say. But then I also know we have friends down in Ecuador and in Australia that are with us already. We're at summertime, so let us know what your weather is like. That's kind of fun. I also want to acknowledge everybody who's watching on different broadcast partners. We have a new broadcast partner, the Conscious Awakening Network. Welcome to those who are watching there. Always people watching on YouTube. Thank you, Ellen Steinfeld, for putting us on your YouTube channel and our YouTube channel, Global Peace Tribe. But most of you are actually watching us on Facebook. And that's a big thank you to John and Summer Raymer from the Sign Network, who get us out to over 100 Facebook groups and pages. So welcome, everybody. Now listen, come on into the Zoom room. If you're watching us on one of those other platforms, that's great. But if you come on into the Zoom room, that way you can directly interact with us. We're going to have a whole panel conversation today, a lot of question and answering going back and forth. Plus, we put a lot of links into the chat box. And you want to get those links so you can connect to all the things we're going to be talking about tonight. And it's really easy to join us. Just go to globalpeacetribe.com, just like what you're going to see behind me. There's Eden Amadora, who's going to be with us quite a bit tonight. She's my co-host, which I'm really happy about. But let me take you to Global Peace Tribe first. Globalpeacetribe.com is where you can learn all about what we do. And then click where it says register for the new season. That takes you to our registration page. And again, as I said, we do 3, sometimes even 4 shows every week. So for example, on Wednesday night, we now are on Wednesday nights, we did a wonderful show getting everybody ready for this weekend, Martin Luther King weekend. And that was a dynamic conversation. Here's the show we're about to have tonight, all about embodying our divine unity and honoring our secret polarity. And then tomorrow on our Sacred Sunday show, we've got 2 incredible sound healers, Piper Dillums and Dr. Ivy Hilton. They're both world-renowned, and they're going to lead us on a whole sound and visual journey. So that's what's happening this weekend. And when you register, you're going to get the links to all of our shows for the next 3 months, plus special offerings and information about our upcoming retreats. And I'm going to talk about our retreats a little bit later on in the show. So come join the Global Peace Tribe. I really enjoy all the different people I get to co-host with, but tonight's co-host is one of my favorite human beings. She is an incredibly talented, amazing human being who also brings just so much love and integrity to everything she does. And I am talking about Eden Amadora. Welcome back, Eden. It's good to see you.
Such an honor to be here, Scott. Thank you for having me. Really pleased to be with you all.
I had the pleasure of having dinner with Eden, I guess it was about 10 days ago, where we talked about, okay, what do we want to do on our show? And I'd love to just turn it over to you, kind of your imagining of what we came up with and what we're going to do tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. So for me, it always comes back to the connection that I feel that is so powerful in my heart with the divine and with each other. And I think as we amplify this love and this unity consciousness and this global peace tribe, we're really a ripple that's spreading throughout the whole world together. So I'm passionate about ways of coming together to remember and to amplify that feeling of connection and to honor sacred polarity, to honor these energies within us of our masculine, feminine essence and how we dance in the world with each other and the differences that make us so unique and beautiful. So Scott and I were playing with how to weave those things together, and we came up with honoring, or actually embodying divine unity and honoring sacred polarity. And I'm excited about the subject, and I hope that you'll join us and ask questions and that it'll be a juicy conversation.
Beautiful. I'm going to briefly just let people know about our other relationship coaches that we're going to be hearing from throughout the show. One of my dear friends and my recent roommate for a year and a half, Paul Sterling, is with us, coming to us from Colorado. And his frequent teacher and collaborator, Heidi Love, is with us. She's normally in Hawaii, but she's right here in the Bay Area near where Eden and I are tonight. Rajio Allen is with us, and she's a longtime friend, and she's coming to us from Asheville, North Carolina. And then coming from Victoria, British Columbia, the creator and founder of RelationFlix, Steve Rowland, is with us. So you're going to be hearing from all of these amazing master relationship coaches as we really explore the theme of what does it mean to really tap into our divinity while honoring our sacred polarity. Now, you know, we normally start with music. And so for tonight, I thought it'd be really, really fun to start with a video that Eden did. And I actually had seen this video from you before, Eden, but I'd forgotten about it until the other night. We were on a friend's show together, and we watched it, and it was like, oh, we got to start the show with it. So do you want to just introduce it to people?
Yeah, this video, a friend gifted me this. It was a big surprise at a CD release concert several years ago for my Dream Awake album. In the work that I'd been deeply involved in, I decided to give voice to different archetypes of the divine. And there's an archetype that we play with about dreaming awake, really becoming the script writer of your own mythic movie. And the song was born from that. And it's a fun clip. You'll see I'm in full archetypal regalia, really kind of bring in the star goddess frequency here. And yeah, go ahead and let them see for themselves. Feel into the words as an invitation. Fun to see again. Oh, I think you're muted, love.
Obviously, your singing is wonderful and the visuals are great. But I want to just really for a minute talk about the content, because obviously the show's called The Awakening World. And I tend to believe that ultimately this is a cosmic dream. And so we really have an opportunity when we're on the mystical path to learn how to dream our reality awake. What does that mean to you? How do you experience that?
I experience this when I feel like my love level is really high and I'm really present, when I feel like I'm in this kind of holy flow. Sometimes we hear about the holy Tao, when there's no resistance to what is and there's no sense of future-based fear or past reviewing, and I'm heart forward in my walk through the world. Synchronicities happen. I meet the right people at the right time. The creativity level rises, and I feel immense joy and gratitude. And life becomes this waking dream. It feels like, oh, I wonder what magical and unexpected thing is going to happen today. And when I'm in that state, I'm aware that my field impacts others. I have the ability to hold space for whatever I'm meeting, whoever is sitting before me, no matter what's going on in their life. I can hold space with compassion, and I don't have any sense of anyone raining on my parade. When I'm dreaming awake, all is embraced in that energy. There is only the embrace of compassion and unconditional love. And I often ask people that I journey with, that I work with in the mystery school work, how do you become a lucid thread in the collective dream? What will it take for you to love yourself and love your life and consciously dream awake with me? Like, what will it take?
Well, there's a great question. So, we're going to make today interactive. I look forward to hearing what all of our presenters have to say about dreaming our lives awake as well. So, certainly eager to see what might come in the chat box. We've got a lot of our regulars with us tonight, and thank you for that. So, to kind of help us drop into the theme, um, would you like to lead us on a short practice?
I'd love to, because as we dream awake, we also recognize that we're not separate from what we might call this holy Tao, this source light, the divine oneness. And my invitation to you tonight is just to come on a short journey with me where you'll have a direct experience of raising your frequency. That's the magic of inner alchemy. Together we can create a field that actually will raise the frequency for the whole. This is one of my most favorite things to do. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes with me. And if you're sitting up, just imagining your spine, like Yogananda said, is the highway to the divine, just this beautiful vertical axis point. And bring your awareness in with your breath, deepening your breath, a few really deep belly breaths. And on the exhale, go ahead and let out a little bit of sound with me. So deep inhalation. Just landing in the present moment, fully embodied here and now with the breath, following that deep inhale. Releasing on the exhale, and letting this last one actually be an ah tone sound. Deep inhalation. Ah. Sound is such a powerful tool. Let's just do it one more time and really let it resonate. Deep ah. Ah. And now continuing to breathe deeper than usually breathe. Find yourself with your awareness over the top of your head, imagining a beautiful soul star shining down on this body, witnessing this body, this beautiful body. And this light is connected to your essence, and your essence is connected to the great essence light of all that is. And feel the soul light, the solar light coming down as if it is shining on your crown. And as it does, just imagining opening just enough to allow this light to enter into the light sensitive parts of your brain. Deep breath, activating the pineal, the pituitary. You may feel a brightening from the inside, the inner eye, awakening the eye that sees beyond the veils of this 3D world, that sees the light behind appearances, the beauty that surrounds. Feeling the light bathing the two hemispheres of your brain. For a moment, imagining a golden infinity loop weaving between right and left hemisphere. Deep breath, and then showering down this inner light through your whole skull, letting the chin drop slightly and feeling the light bathing the base of the skull. Feeling the connection to this channel of listening, deep listening as you lift your chin and open the throat. Feeling this soul light activating and awakening this powerful area of your being that is your voice, your open channel to be that mouthpiece of your inner knowing, your gnosis. Breathing and receiving that beautiful light down now through the throat and into the torso. Feel your central channel opening up and flowing with this breath, the prana and the light. Breathing it into the high heart and then down into the center of your heart chakra. You can bow your chin slightly and feeling the back, the very innermost depth of your heart, in the back of that chakra, opening and softening any crystallizations of stress that being in this 3D world have been feeling heavy, just brightening and releasing any armoring, as if your earth angel wings can soften and open through your back heart. Then lifting the chin slightly and feeling the center of your heart chakra like that lotus flower that's behind me, just blossoming, lifting, receiving the solar rays, breathing that expansive feeling on the horizontal plane, like rippling radially around your field, embodying this higher frequency, opening to house more of your soul essence light. Breathing it down now from the center of that lotus, down your Sushumna, your central channel, down into the solar plexus, breathing into that chakra, feeling the back of that chakra nourished on the light and the prana, the kidneys and the adrenals. We're often very depleted in this modern day world, just taking some rest and resourcefulness from this energy. Bringing that energy through your belly, through your organs now, down the central channel, past the navel, breathing into the sacral chakra, imagining another lotus there, all the way down in the root and the base, the pelvic bowl, softening any contraction in the root and the tail, opening that center to ground all this grace through your body, down through what you're sitting on, through the floor, the building, the foundation. Feel your legs lighting up, the soles of your feet lighting up. Feel your roots moving deep, and all of us all over the world rooting this grace, this solar light, more for the one, like beaming down little acupuncture needles of adjustment and Mama Gaia, lighting up this whole planet. And then feel that we are here together in this interconnected web of light, supporting each other. And then as you breathe up, breathe in all that support, all the way back up your central channel, up to the heart, that big lotus. And then feel your right hand of light and your left hand of light opening as if you're holding beautiful lotus blossoms in your palms of light. And then slowly bringing that right hand of light up onto your heart and your left over it, bowing your chin. And for a moment, feeling this union between the above and the below, the right and the left, all coming in home in the center of the heart. feeling that little infinity loop of gold light again in the heart, holding your own precious heart. And we give thanks. We give thanks for this day, this chance to come together in this good way, and to raise our frequency and connect with one another. And just feel what you are grateful for, what you can expand in gratitude with. Your own grateful heart is a doorway into these higher frequencies and reconnection. One more deep breath, and then pressing your palms together in Namaste, the mudra of thanks, bowing your head. And we just complete with bringing that up to the third eye. Blessed be. Thank you so much. You can slowly open your eyes.
I'm going to go to gallery view for a moment for us to give her some twinkling and appreciation. It was beautiful, just beautiful. Thank you very much, Eden.
You're welcome.
That's a perfect way to bring in our first other presenter. And this is one of my dearest friends in the world. This show, you're going to hear me say this about everybody that I'm introducing, because it's like Scott's Friends show. And this is Rajio Allen. I'll start on a personal level, and then I'll talk about the professional. On a personal level, she's married to one of my other best friends, Vineet Allen, who is watching us, of course. And she was also my wife's best friend when my wife was alive. They went way back to, I guess you went when you were in your 20s. And they traveled the world together and had all sorts of adventures together. So I've had the good fortune to have a lot of wonderful personal connection with Rajio. But I've also been blessed to teach with her and to watch her in action. And she's a brilliant spiritual leader and soul mentor. For 20 years, she led retreats all over the world. And it was really a groundbreaking body of work. Many of you may have remember the Celebration of Being work that she co-created. She and her husband, Vineet, now are the directors of a retreat center, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, in Asheville, North Carolina. And as some of you have heard me say, we're actually looking at having a Global Peace Tribe retreat at the retreat center in Asheville in October. So she's a multi-talented woman, but she's also very humble. And as long as I've known Rajio, she's always been dedicated to enlightenment and self-awareness. And you've always been just very focused on your meditation, your practice, exploring different teachings, different ways of raising consciousness. But you've also always been really in the human experience of it. And you've written a brand new book, Fumbling Towards Freedom, and that I love that you call it that. So welcome to the Awakening World, Rajio. And I guess I'll just start by asking you what your thoughts are about the theme of the show, of honoring our divinity while acknowledging the polarity of this planet and of masculine and feminine.
Thank you, Scott. I just want to thank you, Eden, for that beautiful meditation. I was just totally transported. It was very beautiful. Yeah, well, I've been reflecting, obviously, on this theme, and this was the foundation of my work for 20 years, was to really bring the masculine and feminine together and to have each sex feel the pain of the other, so that there was an alchemy that came through really opening our hearts to how difficult it can be to be a man in relationship with women or a woman in relationship with men. And I found something really beautiful happen through that, through really being able to see and feel, experience and witness the challenges that we face on this human level in being in relationship and being who we are with each other, there was a beautiful heart opening that happened as we just went through that process on a human level, and able to really stand in our own essence as man, as woman, holding space for the other, and really allowing that essence to be seen and witnessed. Because I think the biggest pain for all of us is that we don't feel seen, we don't feel gotten. In relationship especially, we often don't get who the other is. And in my work, I really found that there was a huge transformation when we could just really witness and honor the pain that we carry in relationship. Yeah.
I hope you don't mind my mentioning, but one of the things that I've had so many relationships with Rajo, and one has been I've been her coach with her husband, and I'm going to put him on for a moment. Vineet, smile. You're on candid camera. This is Rajo's husband, Vineet, who you've seen on Saturday Night Live for the Global Peace Tribe. He's co-hosted twice with me. So there he is, her husband. We're going to be talking about him. And I know they're doing really, really well because I haven't gotten any emergency calls from you for at least 2 or 3 years now. So, and it is something to get married. And when you first were married, there were more calls to the coach, but there haven't been any calls for 2 or 3 years. And so I'd love for you to just share what are some of the tools, some of the things that you worked out as these 2 different beings came together, got married, created a retreat center together. What are some of the tools of honoring your polarity and managing life together in a beautiful way?
I think the 2 things that are most present for me are acceptance, that we're very different beings, and that's the beauty of it. We have these polarities, and also appreciation, really appreciating who he is, rather than looking at all the things that he's not, or that I wish he were. So that's for me the biggest things: acceptance and appreciation.
Beautiful. So write that down, everybody, because it's true. Appreciation and acceptance. I would agree. They're like the 2. The third one I would add when I'm talking to people and coaching is mutuality. For the relationship to really feel mutual, that both people are giving and receiving in a way that feels mutual to both. So I would say that mutuality, appreciation, and acceptance, absolutely. I also want to just ask you, because you have been on the mystical path. You've, I think, been back and forth to India throughout your life. What would you like to say about what Eden and I were talking about earlier about the cosmic dream and dreaming our life awake? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I really got a sense in this meditation of really calling it in and embodying it. It's right here. It's actually not very far. I've spent my whole life searching, seeking, with many, many teachers, many, many different paths. And I think part of just getting older, or part of, exhausting most options, but also part of the time that we're living in, that Eden so beautifully spoke to, is that, there's so much support for us to awaken, and it's time. So I find the more that I sit back and down inside myself, the more that I find that it's right here. Whatever it is that I'm looking for, whatever that state of consciousness is that I'm wishing to embody, it's really just right here. And opening to that and embodying that is, all there is left to do, really. Yeah.
Because Rajo is in Asheville, North Carolina, she's not going to be able to stay through the whole show for our panel conversation at the end. So I brought Eden on so that we can have a little mini conversation between the three of us right now.
Really
So
moved by what she just said. And I can feel even like the resonance, truth bumps and tears coming to my eyes when you say that after a lifetime of seeking the guru or the perfect path or teacher or something outside the self, how it becomes so close and so near, nearer than near, and how we're doing it together now. Beautiful.
I love that quote, you know, the divine is closer to us than our own breath. Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's a good one. Well, feel free to jump in even with any thoughts or questions as we continue with Rajo. So tell us about your new book. And I noticed that you are referencing it as a memoir, and I've had the good fortune to read through it. But tell our audience about Fumbling Towards Freedom.
Well, I have to say that I wrote it, and as soon as it was published, I had a moment of gulp. It's out there because it's very raw, it's very real, it's very honest, and it's very vulnerable about my own journey and my own struggles and challenges through, you know, growing up without a mother, losing my mother when I was very young, to drug addiction and losing myself in order to try to find myself, as I'm sure many of us can relate to. And then finding myself on my spiritual path, finding my spiritual master. And then it was clear there was something in my soul that would not let me go. It was really such a drive, such a longing that I had to know who I was beyond the conditioning, beyond the identities, beyond the stories, who I truly was. And that kept me going through many, many different adventures, inner and outer, that I just had this love for the truth, for freedom. And I was very committed to that, as you mentioned, Scott. And so all of the outer things that happened, which were many, it's a wild ride. It's been a wild ride, and I am happy to say that, you know, at the end of it all, I've been able to come home to myself, which is the greatest blessing, and I feel very grateful for that.
Mm.
Yeah, and as Eden was saying, you know, there's a beautiful, you know, when we're able to open to the truth of who we are, then there's a beautiful relaxation and a wonderful synchronicity, and it's like life is carrying us on its shoulders, and there's nothing to do anymore because we are being done to, you know, we are being done through. We're as one of my teachers says, grace delivery devices. And it's just about, you know, allowing life to move us and to present to us what's next, you know, without having to think about it or plan it or orchestrate or manipulate life. It's, you know, all of that is just too much effort. You know, letting go and relaxing, life has a pretty beautiful intelligence. Yeah.
Some comments coming in. Mara writes, beautifully said, Rajo. Thank you. Reverend Jeffrey writes, never limit your view of life by any past experience. The possibility of life is inherent within the capacity to imagine what life is, backed by the power to produce this imagery or divine imagination. Lovolution is the solution. Our dear friends Connie and Andrew, who just got married after 19 years of doing life together, got married 2 weeks ago. She writes, yes, Rajo, that's such wonderful work, helping men and women coming to appreciate and accept our unique circumstances. And Dr. Laura writes, I love the truth as well. Almost 90% of life is pursuing the truth. And somebody else wrote, we guru together is the best guru. So that's a good one. Finally, Stephen, who we're going to hear from next, writes, I love what you're saying, Rajo. It reminds me of how much love. Show me prayers. Show me the path of God. As Yogananda said, be still and know that I am God. It's a good one too.
Yeah.
Well, you can get much more, Rajo. Of course, I've put it in the chat box. This is she has a couple websites actually. Samasati Sanctuary. That's where many of us are going to be together in October for a Global Peace Tribe retreat, our first East Coast retreat. And I really invite you to make sure you go to the website, tool around, see what they're doing. If any of you are ever in Nashville, and Nashville is certainly a location where many of our friends go, stay there. They have rooms, and it's a beautiful, beautiful. I was there for 3 weeks in October last year, and it was just beautiful. But this is where you can also go and click Rajo's new book, and there it is, a memoir by Rajo Allen. And I really want to encourage everybody to buy this book. It is very raw and wonderful, and you'll get a chance to really track a fascinating journey. And I see you've got David Pramal giving you a testimonial, and we're going to hear from David Pramal and Meetin a little bit later on in the show. So Rajo and David Pramal and my wife Suchi were all very involved with Osho for a long, long time, going way back. So Rajo, thank you for being with us. Eden, any last thoughts or questions or comments?
Myself and another one of our guests just loved this expression. You said one of your teachers offered the grace delivery devices. It's just such a profound, beautiful, simple way to look at it. And I just wanted to amplify that again.
Yeah. It's been lovely. Thank you so much. I might slip off at some point because bed will be calling me.
Yeah, I know you're an early riser and an early to bedder, so thank you. And I'll bring Vineet up one last time because people are asking. Actually, Mary asked, does Vineet want to say anything about the marriage? So I don't want to put you on the spot, but
yeah, thank you. I will add that it was the first year after we were over the honeymoon that most couples have early on. It got sticky at times and challenging, and it was at the point that I realized that whatever I was resisting, I recognized that was the teaching for me, that she was reflecting back something that I could really learn from, and vice versa. And so at that point, we really were able to, not always, but often, to drop our resistance to whatever was coming up and basically say, wow, let me take a deep breath here, notice my resistance, and inquire as to how her perspective on this I can learn from. So once we kind of rounded that corner, it's been much easier. And thank you for your help, Scott, because you definitely got us through some sticky points as we got to that place in ourselves.
Yeah. Well, as I say, I always know with my couples that they're doing well because I don't hear from them. So I'm grateful professionally not to have heard from you, and personally, absolutely to have you with us tonight. I love you both so much.
Oh, we love you too, Scott. It's been great being here. And thanks for all you do to just turn the world on and bring everybody in. Thank you.
Thank
everybody.
You. All right. Gosh, my heart's just like, I love these people so much. Well, the next person I'm going to introduce is also a very frequent colleague, actually. He holds the record for taking my Relationship Essentials course more than anybody else because he is so dedicated to relationship. And I'm, of course, talking about my friend, Steve Rowland. And Steve and I just led a men's group together and really enjoyed it. It was really kind of fun because we went from, kind of being more student teacher to colleagues and collaborators. And we also have been collaborating because Stephen, as many of you may remember, is the co-creator of RelationFlix. And RelationFlix is a wonderful new platform. We certainly are going to be hearing about it, that has all sorts of amazing, great teachers. In fact, I'm going to go to the educators section. They've got so many of my absolute favorite educators, many of whom you've seen on The Awakening World, including Jessica Osterday. Ariel Brown was just on a week ago. I mean, you recognize all of these people. And Trish, who of course is my co-host on Wednesday nights. And so he has put together this amazing platform with beautifully shot and produced videos. He is dedicated to understanding relationships at the highest level and then getting that wisdom out to the world. So, Stephen, thank you for being with us tonight. And I'm really, really glad you're here.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you for the gorgeous introduction.
Yeah. Thank you for being who you are. Really, your dedication to understanding relationships personally, and then getting the wisdom that you accumulate and gather and out to the world. I don't know anybody who's doing it at the level that you are. So thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
All right. So the first question, what are your thoughts about the theme for tonight? That kind of honoring our divinity, but also being in the dance of sacred polarity.
Yeah. When it comes to honoring our divinity, I just have such a deep magnetism to the tantric perspective of that, and which has a tendency to be about like what's going on right here with our feet on the ground and planet Earth, and with our body as the vessel. I had a really great conversation with someone yesterday who's a scientist. And the topic of spirituality came up in the conversation a few times, and there was like this like cringe and contraction and resistance on their side because of how disregarded spirituality is in the science community. And so she voiced that. She said, "Hey, we're talking about spirituality. I'm noticing that it's rubbing up against some parts of me because of the communities that I'm surrounded in." And yeah, it just put me into the inquiry of, yeah, there is a lot of aversion to spirituality in science communities. And it's actually like hilariously ironic, because to me, in my perspective, it's like, here we are, like we're in this vessel of biology that has trillions of cells that work intelligently and synergistically with each other. We have immune systems and our organs that all serve a function. It's like everything our body does serves a function in service to the body. And it's like who comes up with such an incredible design? It's like there's no way that our body and this existence is an accident, like a random haphazard accident. Like there's just no way. Like there's no one on this earth who could convince me that it's an accident. It's like, to me, this existence alone is evidence enough that there's a creative, majestically intelligent creative force of the universe. So it's just, yeah. And it's like, to me, science is about truth seeking, right? And so to me, it's like fields of science like chemistry and physics and quantum physics and astronomy and really all of it, to me, actually just more deeply validates how there's an intelligence to the universe, because it finds a way to actually track it and measure it and figure out how incredibly functional it is. It's like gravity and like the relationship between the sun and the earth, and like the impeccable distance and the heat of the sun that's required to create life and birds and insects and humanity and fruits and the grass and the ocean and water, all of it. It's like, how gorgeous is it that we get to have this body that's the vehicle to experience this incredible cosmic platform that's been built by a force that I think we can get close to having a relationship with. We can get deeply close to having a relationship with, but also paradoxically, it seems like we're not really wired to know what that is. You know, it's like we can all have our own relationship with spirit, the universe, God, whatever we call it. And it's like, I guess I've been in the inquiry of like, does anybody actually know? Like really, like with truth with a capital T, like exquisitely know what God is or isn't? Maybe I'm open to it, and I'd like to have a conversation, take them out for lunch. But the short of it is, reeling it in, it's like, here we get this beautiful body that we get to experience this incredible creation of God around us with, and it's like, what an incredible privilege that is. And so for me, it's like divine embodiment is the first of all, I guess like an important piece of context that's here for me is that, like, to me, spiritual growth is really about the transformation of our root thought patterns, like a root baseline cognition of reality. Like, what's the way that we experience life? And to me, like, spiritual growth and divine embodiment is really about acknowledging the sacredness of our body, this divine vessel, the majestic creation that the cosmos is, and then just being in the celebration of that day to day. It's like, yeah, what a privilege that is. So to me, like, that's the divine embodiment piece. And like the paradox is like, yeah, like the entire cosmos is one thing, and the spaces that we interpret as empty space are actually not empty space, and there's a fabric to the universe that connects everything. And so, yeah, it's like the paradox of acknowledging our oneness, yet also being in the experience of our two-ness and separateness. And it's like, here's the vessel of Stephen, and I'm like on a laptop right now, and it's like, here I am on this MacBook Pro, and you know, there's a fruit on the tree over there that I get to experience this seemingly separate thing and have a relationship with it, with my body as I consume it. And yeah, to me that's really it. It's like when there's like a paradox that makes perfect sense, like, you know, you're onto something, like a divine paradox where there's two truths that coexist so beautifully yet should be contradictory. I think we're onto something. So
I'm so lit up as I'm listening to you, Stephen, and just the resonance is so strong. I'm remembering I was very impacted at a young age by Yogananda Paramahamsa, and something he said in Autobiography of a Yogi, he said that self-realization is synonymous with God realization. And that contemplation has been with me for so long, so many years of kind of having finally a closer relationship with, it's not outside of me, this illusion of separation. Yes, there is a separate vessel, a separate body to experience, like you're saying, and that glue that we are all connected by, and it is within us. So when you were speaking of the paradox, I was just delighting, because I too contemplate this magic that we're given in this realm of 3D. And for those of us who are maybe a little bit more right-brained or artistic, poetic, rather than the hard kind of intellectual academic science types, there's such a poetry to this inquiry. There's such a mystical nature that's beyond my ability to think of it in a, like, Yogananda said, one day science will reflect that which we know, the mystics know. And I think quantum physics is probably what he's pointing to now in our world, in the modern world. But yeah, it just delights me to hear you dance with this paradox.
We had Deepak on the show, and he addressed exactly what you just said, Eden. And this is a really fascinating thing. And I've said before on the show, the oldest spiritual texts that have survived are the Vedic scriptures, which are about 7,000 years old. And our most modern science, obviously, is quantum physics. In the Vedic scriptures, God is known as Brahman and is assigned 26 principles. There are 26 principles of Brahman. Fast forward 7,000 years, and in quantum physics, our scientists have identified the unified field, and we're all living in a unified field of ever-changing molecules. And there are 26 scientific principles within the unified field that perfectly correlate with the 26 principles of Brahman. So our most ancient spiritual wisdom and our most modern science are saying the same thing from their unique points of view. And we get to live in the time when those two come together. You know, I just
Fantastic.
spontaneously introduced you, Stephen, but when I popped your little bio into the chat box, it reminded me that you are a trauma-informed relationship coach. And I do think that that's an important thing to bring up because almost everybody is dealing with some form of trauma. And most often our trauma comes up in our relationships. So I'd love to just kind of toss that ball to you for a minute.
Sure. Yeah, thanks. I think that's a really meaningful conversation to get into, especially in the context of spirituality, because you know, I've certainly been in this space, and I know that there's something that looks and feels and translates to me as almost like a spiritual avoidance or a spiritual bypassing of the hard stuff. And you know, like there's like this trajectory to like of this value of being connected with God and like the joy and bliss and ananda and like advocating for states of gratitude, and like of course like we all want to live centered in joy. I think that when we get down to brass tacks, that's really the game. And I think the conversation about trauma needs to be included in spirituality, because I actually hold our trauma-based functions in our body as deeply sacred. Like, to me, it's like a part of the brilliance of the architecture of the body. You know, it's like if we stick our hand on a hot burning stove that's glowing orange and we burn our hand, like we're never doing that again, because there's a part of our brain that's designed to keep us safe and acknowledge threats. Like that's there to protect this and be in service to the divine vessel, you know, and that's there on purpose. That is a part of the brilliance of the architecture of the body designed by the divine beloved, right? So, you know, like I deeply value including the trauma conversation. And you know, a part of working with trauma is also like really dealing with the hard stuff so that we can have those higher states available to us, because the more we're in our trauma responses and our system kind of closes down and goes into survival mode, the more difficult divine communion gets for us to experience. And I'm clear about my words there, because it's always there. Like it's not really something we can turn off. It's just really like our level of awareness and attunement and how refined is our relationship to it that gets sabotaged and compromised when we're kind of in a perpetual survival state. So like that's why I think trauma healing is so important, because it gets us back into a place where we can be regulated in our body enough so we can have the stillness and have the parts of our brain that go online that helps us observe the truth of life around us, rather than kind of being in a fight, flight, freeze, fawn response all the time. So that's kind of the bottom line for me. I could talk about it for hours, but
Yeah, I'd like to ask another deepening question to you, because from my own experience, intimacy seems to be such a wonderful catalytic mirror and container to actually touch the core trauma, to hopefully bring it up for the healing and integration. And I'm sure you've had incredible experiences witnessing that with your clients and people. And what could you say about that? It's deepening with the polarity and the intimacy.
Yeah, there just seems to be this like cosmic joke of like, here's person A who has their particular configuration of wounding and patterns, and here's person B who has their particular configuration. And for whatever reason, there's this cosmic joke of how these two people will magnetize each other, that are just like the perfect cocktail that will push the right buttons at the right time or the wrong time. And yeah, and like I think there's like also a deeper wisdom of the body there, because it's like
Our attraction seems to be connected sometimes to the wounds that need
totally,
to get touched.
totally, exactly. Well said. And I also think that there's like a wisdom to when it does come up. It's like, I think like overwhelmingly, like societally, we're conditioned for pleasure and comfort, and like Netflix and food delivery apps, and like internet and social media, and like quick dopamine hits. And it's like there's so many I don't think there's ever been a time in our human history, like retract human history, where there's been so many different coping mechanisms available that can distract us from dealing with it. And so I like to think that like when it does come up, there's a wisdom to it. It's like, this is something that's here in the space in present moment that's like yearning to be looked at. And so, yeah, I think like
Such a
having,
precious flip of that. Instead of, oh, wrong person, get rid of the discomfort, the curiosity of, oh, what a precious opportunity. Thank you, my sacred mirror, my soul friend. Thank you. Yeah.
Um, well, Stephen's going to be with us through the whole show. So I'm going to read a couple comments, take people back to Relation Flex, and then we're going to move on. But Stephen will be with us, so we'll hear more from him. And I always love to include our audience. So continue to give us your thoughts, your comments. Dr. Laura put in a great quote from Einstein relevant to the conversation. There are two ways to live. You can live as if nothing is a miracle, or you can live as if everything is a miracle. And that came up right after your kind of opening comments, Stephen. Of course, Heidi, who we're going to hear from next, writes, yes, everything is a miracle. And several people kind of then commented on that. Dorina from Ecuador writes, a quote from Rumi, I eliminated duality with joyous laughter, saw the unity of here and the hereafter. Unity is what I sing. Unity is what I speak. Unity is what I know. Unity is what I seek. Beautiful. And then Dr. Laura writes, it's not a cosmic joke. It is a vibratory match where one is wounded, another will poke, and vice versa. And absolutely, I agree. Scientists, biologists, I should say, have proven that when two people are at procreation age, if they are a good, healthy genetic match, if they have a good, healthy DNA match, the pheromones talk to each other, and that creates sexual chemistry. Let's go make a baby. I believe, along what we've just been talking about here, that our souls talk to each other. This is the perfect person to trigger your childhood trauma, your epigenetic ancestral issues that your soul wants you to work on. Because we are here to heal our personal trauma and to learn how to honor and heal, if possible, our ancestral epigenetics. So there you go. All right, Relation Flex. If you have not signed up yet for Relation Flex, and I imagine Stephen will pop in the chat box any details about how to do that. It's an amazing platform. So many great educators and so many different categories, so many different things. You can find almost any relationship question you might have, you can get the answer to by just going to Relation Flex. And there, I think, are like 20 different teachers there. Everything from self-relationship, relationship to others, managing trauma. Look at all the different categories: attachment theory and psychology, communication, conflict resolution, dating and romance, heartbreak, trauma healing, intimacy, sexuality, personal development, polyamory, relationship tools, spirituality. These are all categories with brilliant teachers all sharing the wisdom. So definitely register and become part of Relation Flex. It's an amazing platform. And you've got something special coming up, Stephen, that I'm hopefully going to be participating in. You want to talk about that?
Yes. Thank you, Scott. So on February 19th, Relation Flex launched on Valentine's Day of last year. And so that's right around the corner. And I thought, well, why don't I throw myself a 1-year anniversary party? So that's what we're doing. And it's called the Relationship Summit. It's on February 19th. It's going to be running from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. live broadcasted through the brand new live broadcasting feature that we've built and are implementing into RelationFlix. So it's going to be an incredible show. We have a lineup of amazing speakers on nonviolent communication, authentic relating, sexuality. Yeah, there's just going to be so many great presentations all day long, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific time. And if you're in Victoria, BC, or in the area, there's going to be a very limited amount of tickets sold to the live event. And if you'd like to experience it through virtually, then you can do that with a RelationFlix subscription. In addition to the incredible e-course library that we've created, which you get all access to. And we will also be running live shows regularly through the live broadcasting feature. So thank you, Scott.
Absolutely, Stephen. And I'm looking forward to being part of that. I'm going to try, if the weather is good, I'm going to drive up to BC for it. So, all right. Well, this next little segment that we've got planned is really, really fun. Eden has created this wonderful quiz, and I've taken it. It's really fun, and a lot of my friends have taken it. So if you go to edenamadora.com, that's her website, and if you click right up there, you just scroll down a little bit, take the quiz. There's this really, really fun quiz. I'm going to put that into the chat box, but I'd love to ask Eden to share a little bit more about the quiz.
Yeah, so this is a fun quiz about discovering your, I at first was calling it your beloved archetype. And I live in a very archetypal world in the mystery school work I do. And it was reflected back, well, what does that mean? Like the way that you love on a more mythic level, the patterns of your love style. So the quiz has fun images, it's playful, it's creative. And what you'll discover is these archetypes that you may be very strong in, and some that may be a little bit of your shadow side. And that shadow side has to do with beliefs about love from our conditioning, that it's kind of a gentle guide for you to come back to that more empowered relationship with self-love, with your ability to give and receive love. And I think you'll enjoy it. It'll be a lot of fun information for you, and it's easy to get your answer and then kind of discover more about that. Someone was telling me that they didn't get their answer, so I want to encourage you to look in your spam folder just in case. If you haven't received email from me before, it might be hiding there, so you can find it and just play with that and see what comes up.
You know, when just looking at the page right now, and I just want to read a couple of things that really hopefully will inspire, because I want everybody to take the quiz right now, tonight. Each beloved archetype has unique gifts. And that's what, when I took it, I found, and she really comes right back and gives you some wonderful, wonderful information. And it's really fun. And what a beautiful kind of last message from Eden. This is a key from her heart, Eden's heart, to yours, to support you, to awaken the beloved within. So then you just click and dive in and start taking the quiz and asking the questions. So it's really, really fun. So thank you, Eden, for providing that for all of us.
You're so welcome. Yeah, enjoy.
Well, while you're taking the quiz or not, it is time for some music. And of course, our beloved brother Omashar is with us. Omashar, before you play, what is your thoughts about tonight's topic?
Well, it's multifaceted because already it's landing several places within me, because I realize in my whole life, I've never really had a truly intimate, divine-centered relationship with another. Never really. And it's through relationship shows like this that I see how I used to have like an 18-month sell-by date. And I noticed after 18 months, so the honeymoon was over, the stuff came up. And as I think Stephen was saying earlier, it's time to push that person away and go for the next one. And I've had the last 8-9 years without a relationship, except one with myself. And that is almost intrinsically harder because I'm on the awakening path, and it's really important for me to maintain that. And you cannot hide in a cave and keep moving forward and to embody it. You can hide in a cave and become enlightened, but to embody it and walk it upon this earth is another thing. And so my focus right now is, okay, where in my heart am I hurting? How much love can I take? Who can I put myself with to help me mentor opening my heart more and more and more and more and more? You know, I've done, I've been at dozens and dozens of workshops throughout the last couple of decades, and it's always been 85% women there. And I've never noticed, because I've felt that I've such a divinely feminine side to myself. However, in reality, when it comes to it, because I'm now ready to fess up to my own folly, I see where I shut myself down and pretend that I'm open. And so that's as much as I'm going to share for now. Maybe a little bit later, when I've had a few more gems received into my brain. So anyway, Scott, that was that for that.
Beautiful. Thank you, Mushar.
Yeah.
And what do you have for us tonight?
What I have is a song called I Give My Life, and it's about giving your life to divinity, to a balanced male-female sense of being. And you can get up and bop to it. So if you're going to do Eden's quiz, you have to type it like that and move around at the same time. And so we don't have to, but you better. And here we go. Are we sitting comfortably? I give my life into your hands. I share my love across the land. I show my trust and faith in you. I know that you will lead me through. Look into your divine nature. Look into your lotus heart. As we are the new living masters, we are the golden ones. We know that our world is changing faster than we can imagine. We know that our days, they are numbered. This is our wake-up call. I give my life into your hands. I share my love across the land. I show my trust and faith in you. I know that you will lead me through. So let's live the dream we'll share it, the one where there's love and there's laughter, where people are open and caring. We are one family. So come one and all to the party, and drink of the holy water. It's time to transcend limitation, time to be truly free. I give my life into your hands. I share my love across the land. I show my trust and faith in you. I know that you will lead me through. Into your hands, I share my love across the land. I show my trust and faith in you.
Twinkle time, twinkles for Omar Shar. That was really fun.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star.
That definitely got it off. And people, I think, were dancing. I didn't see anybody dancing and doing the quiz at the same time, but
No,
those are
but I'm going to do the quiz in a minute. I actually did the quiz a couple of months ago, but I forgot what it said, so I'm going to do it again. Short-term memory loss.
Oh, beautiful. Well, thank you. And of course, Omar Shar will be back later on in the show. We'll get more Omar Shar. But you can always get Omar Shar by going to Bandcamp. If you go to omarshar.bandcamp.com, that's where you're going to find his albums. And if you haven't bought his albums yet, please do so. Let's support our beautiful, beloved brother. And by the way, this might be a good moment just to mention that you'll get a chance, hopefully, to come and see Omar Shar live, because he's planning on coming to Los Angeles on March 28th. You know, there's going to be this big kind of event.
The Wisdom.
At the Wisdom in downtown LA. And over the last few days, a lot has taken place. Shri and Kira are going to come up from Ecuador for it. And we are going to have a Global Peace Tribe retreat. I would say that we are now at about 95%. Kiki and Bob, who was on the show a couple of weeks ago, they're going to fly in from the East. They're going to fly in to be with us from Hawaii. And so it's coming together. It's going to be really, really fun. So basically think March 27th till around April 2nd, that week is the week to be in Los Angeles. And once again, I'll get a big house like we did in Sedona, where we can all stay and do some fun events. I'm going to try and get one in West LA near the beach. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And you can listen to Omar Shar multiple times playing music live. And we'll all be dancing together.
A few new songs by then that I'm working on. So yes, thank you, Scott.
I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be great. All right. Well, I get to introduce not one, but two people at the same time, or very similar, because they frequently collaborate together. And this is Paul Sterling, who is a brilliant coach. And we were roommates for a year and a half up until May. So we got a chance to really get to know each other. And I got to tell you, I miss your meals. He would make these amazing steaks, and I'd be coaching and doing the show, and I'd be doing it from pretty close to the kitchen, and like the smell would become wafting in. But he was a gentleman. He would always bring me a nice portion of his steak. So, no greater love hath a man than to share his steak. And this is Heidi Love. And Heidi is also a wonderful coach, who, again, I've had the good fortune to watch her in action. And they frequently teach together. So when I was putting the show together and choosing my favorite love coaches and relationship coaches, I was really delighted that both Paul and Heidi were available tonight. And of course, I'm just sharing from the heart about my friends. I'm not even reading their bios, but I'll put their bios in the chat box, and we'll take a look at the website links and learn about Paul's book and such. But let's go into the question. What are your thoughts about embodying our divinity, managing that polarity of masculine, feminine within and in relationship?
So many good speakers already, and so much is covered. I'm going to dive in and do a quick exercise. And Heidi, maybe you'll do it with me. So Scott, if you could keep her on the screen there for a second. And this is something for everybody here to do. So if you could put your hands together like this. So I'm waiting. I can see you out there, even in Facebook land and all the rest of it. And when I say go, what I want you to do is press really hard with your right hand. Ready, get set, go. No, press harder, press harder, press harder. Okay, press harder. Now stop. Now I see some of you got it. So Heidi, I'm just going to play with you so we got everybody in there. I said press really hard with your right hand. Where did your hands end up? And I know you already know this, but
my hands. I started pressing together and they didn't go anywhere. And then I was like, oh yeah, right hand.
And see, it's an important thing. There's sort of a theme here tonight, because what that's got to do with any of this is anytime that we feel force, we feel resistance. So there's basically 3 R's that have come up tonight a lot: remembering, reminding, and resistance. And it's like talking about the divine. Part of what I love about Scott and his show is he's a reminder. He's somebody that reminds people of their connection to each other, to divinity, to the planet, to the universe. And he'd always remind me, I could be a grumpy bastard to live with at times too. I mean, he's telling me the good sides. And for all of my enlightenment, I also have my resistance. So, and part of my job, and then I'll switch to you, Heidi, for 8.5 years, I went into prison, and I had an amazing program there. And part of the reason I think about this today on my walk, and what I'm going to talk about, is when I went in and saw the inmates, I was a reminder to them of their potential and their possibility. I did not see them as broken human beings. I saw them as somebody that needed a reminder. And the last thing I'll do is I'll hand it to you in a second. Switch big screen to me for 1 second, Scott. This is, okay. This is one of my favorite photos of divinity. This is 2 little kids. Now the kid over here got the first place, and the kid over here got 3rd place. And one of them's totally celebrating, and the other one's miserable and wondering about the kid. So you would think that if you're connected to the external world, first place would make you happy. But if you're connected to your internal divinity, the other kid's just celebrating life. I got 3rd place. So if you can celebrate 3rd place, you can celebrate life and our connection. And it's like part of this whole job is to help us fall in love with ourselves again. Mm-hmm. So Heidi, what did you want to say on this?
No, I love all.
Heidi, I just got to say, I'm going to talk about Heidi because I get to teach with a lot of teachers, and Heidi has a way of simplifying things and making things amazing. And she is just a remarkable human being and she's another reminder. She reminds people of their beauty and their love and their divinity. So I'm so touched by being able to work with her. And Eden, some of the things you said, I was thinking of wearing my headdress tonight. I'm glad I didn't, because I don't want to compete with yours.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you, Scott and Eden, for having this show. I love this topic of divinity, and Paul and I had several conversations about this. What does this mean to us, and what does it mean to relationship? I mean, everything in my life is, how does it relate to relationship? Because that's my passion in teaching and in life in general. And I was thinking that, that feeling of being in love, when you're so in love and you can go to work and it's happier, the flowers are brighter, the weather is great, no matter how it's raining or how it's sunny. And that feeling is so alive and just like that kid in the picture, right? He's in love with life. So he's just excited and exuberant. And we sometimes lose that feeling in relationship. And I was thinking about alignment with, I like to call higher power, because everyone has a different word for God, but the divine. And when we're in alignment with the divine, we act in response to those things around us. We are whole and we're in touch with our own integrity and our own values. And in relationship, I find that when we're not in touch with our own divinity, we see the wounding in the other, we start reacting to everything around us. And instead of acting how we might act that's within our own integrity and value or heart, we're reacting like, well, you did that, so I'm doing this, and you did that, so I'm allowed to do this. And we start going out of alignment with who we truly are inside. And so I think it's a reminder, especially in relationship, when we're in touch with our own intimacy and that divine within us, then we can respond to those around us, staying in integrity and alignment with ourselves.
Yeah, and Heidi and we just taught a course on intimacy, and I want to just ask everybody, again, this is a participatory part, or type it in, But how many of you would like more intimacy, whether it's intimacy with yourself, with your partner, with the divine? How many people here want more intimacy? So I'd love to see you raise a hand, all that. Yes, yes, yes. See it typed in there. Yes. Okay. So here's the other side of this question. How many of you like more vulnerability in your life? There's a few. There's the enlightened group. Normally it's
I
like
had some thumbs down around me, like actual thumbs down.
Yeah, that Dr. Laura is going, no. And see, here's the trap is we say we want more intimacy, but intimacy and vulnerability are the opposite sides of the exact same coin. The more intimate we are, the more vulnerable we are. And if you look at people that are very alive, they're in connection with the divine, with themselves, with others. And so it's like, it's a muscle to be built with that built. That's why there's a resistance. I want intimacy, but I'll do almost anything to avoid intimacy. So the more intimacy I get, the more connection I have, the more vulnerable I am. And it's this learning how to do this dance with the divine, with life, and remembering that this is who we are and reminding people of that. And Heidi, what you said earlier about falling in love in the beginning, what we see is the divine in the other, and we bring that divine out. And I was a coach, if people have been through Landmark, I was a coach for one of the self-expression and leadership course. And there's a quick story, and I'll hand it back to you. But one of the fellow coaches dedicated, really, it takes a lot of time and energy. And he was giving me, well, not me, but the group. I was a fellow coach. And so I saw his love and dedication and divineness. And then I met him at a grocery store one day with his wife. And she said, and I said, oh my God, this is your wife. I get to work with your husband periodically, coaching together. He's great. And she goes, oh, you poor guy. He talks too much. He's like, oh, you probably don't like him. I said, wait, no, that's not my experience of him at all. And see, I reflected back to her a totally different experience. And it's like, that's what we're here to do, is to remind each other and ourselves, remember. So the 3 R's, remember, remind, and then deal with our resistance. And when we can do that, we got more intimacy. So back to you, Heidi.
Yeah, I love what you said about vulnerability. And it's people put on the brakes. I find in most of my couples sessions that it's so fear comes up, right, around being vulnerable. And I think the most intimate thing is to really be seen. And if you're aware enough of yourself that you can reveal yourself to another human being, and we're talking about polarities tonight, not only masculine, feminine, but shadow and light, right? We're in the human experience. Our divinity is beautiful, but when we're in our shadow side, do we want someone to see that? And to share intimacy, if we're hiding our shadow side or our wounded side from our partner or from our loved ones, then we're not truly being seen and we're not dropping into vulnerability. And there's always that little question of, if they really saw me, would they really love me? And that helps us avoid that true intimacy. And so really want to invite you into having the wholeness of your divinity, that you have a human shadow side and that you have the beautiful light side, and that in intimate relationships, we mirror both. We bring out the light in each other, and we also bring out the shadow side, and to truly see another human being and witness them for their whole divinity is what I believe vulnerability and intimacy is.
Oh, beautiful, Heidi. I am remembering a quote. I'm going to probably badly paraphrase it, but it says something like, show me your most terrified, dark places. Show me the parts you feel are unforgivable, and let me love you even there. Let me love you there more than ever. And yeah, as you're speaking, I'm aware that for me now, if someone's not willing to get really real and raw, I I don't open. I can't actually trust. It doesn't feel like the depth of soul connection. It feels like tap dancing around the surface. You stroke my ego, I'll stroke yours. We'll fluff each other a little bit, do cool things, but that's not real love to me. So as you're speaking, I'm aware how even the beings who said no thank you to vulnerability, what they're really saying no thank you to is the fear of rejection.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
I love
a quote, and I'll butcher this quote just so that you don't feel alone in screwing up quotes, but it's Brene Brown. And what she was saying about vulnerability is what I look for in others is vulnerability, and I see it as courage. And what I hide from others is my vulnerability, and I see it as weakness. And it's the same thing. And it's like knowing, when I taught nonviolent communication in school, I work with in prison, and I work with at-risk youth. And one of the kids came up to me afterwards, a 14-year-old girl, and she said, I never knew my mother had feelings before this.
Mm.
And like a lot of times what parents do is they think, I'm going to protect my kids from feelings and emotions. And really what they're doing is they're isolating kids, and the kids feel like, oh, I'm the only one who gets angry or sad or all the rest of it, because I don't have somebody modeling how you can have those feelings and it be healthy. And that's, part of what Stephen was saying. I love his work in Relation Flicks. And part of the whole world of addiction is the inability to be intimate with ourselves. Can we be with our pain and our disappointment? Can I, or do, and we all have our addictions. There's like, mine can be Netflix or exercise or whatever it is. And I'll scroll for endorphin hits. I'll go for that at times. So how much can I be with myself? How intimate can I be with me? And can I slow down and hear the divine? Because I had my whole presentation set up before today. Scott knows me. I had it like on a keynote, and I came home and the keynote was gone. I'm living by myself right now, and it was gone. So I redid it. There it is. And it's like, and then to share that here is like, okay, there you go. There's me being vulnerable. And the last thing I'll say about this is, show me a leader who can't be with shame and embarrassment, and I'll show you a horrible leader. Because if you're leading, you're going into a new area and you're gonna make mistakes. And if you can't be with mistakes and you can't be with shame and embarrassment, it's hard or impossible to lead. I mean, I watched Scott lovingly busting my partner here. But he had a lot of learning to create this amazing thing called the Global Peace Drive. There were tons of mistakes. And if he let shame or mistakes stop him, we wouldn't have this beautiful thing we have right now. But it's that ability to stay true and show and reveal that has allowed us, like, I think there's been millions of people who have seen this show all around the world. So thank you, Scott.
I like to throw out an acronym. I love one-liners and acronyms. I have a very complicated brain. So shame is should have already mastered everything. And it's something that I knew well and came from. And so shame on us for shaming ourselves. So I wanted to say that I was thinking about what was being said, and I had the beautiful opportunity of working in hospice for 9 years. And my job was to help families be intimate with the person going through the dying process, because often when people can't eat or talk or touch or interact in the ways we do, they get left alone. And so helping people have those hard conversations. And what I was thinking of is pain. And I think Marshall Rosenberg said something like this too. The most intimate thing you can do is be with somebody else's pain. And so vulnerability is being in our own discomfort in the face of someone else's pain or feelings. And I work a lot with people with trauma and recovering from addictions and families that deal with addictions within the family. And it's those feelings come up a lot with the shadow of, how do I avoid this? How do I make them feel better? How do I get out of this? And so really, truly being able to just be with another human exactly where they're at is so sweet and intimate.
Beautiful. Well, while we're on Heidi, I want to go to her website. And really want to encourage, as always, to get coaching from these amazing people. We're really, really, really blessed to have so many coaches with us tonight. And so see who you relate to. But they're all remarkable coaches. And so her website's really easy to remember. It's her name, Heidi Love. And so you go there in private sessions. And remind me, where were we going to go, Heidi? Oh, work with
There's a
Heidi.
couple things that you can get for free, yeah, on the website. One of them is right there at the top where the picture
Oh
is.
yeah, where it says
It's
get it now. You know, it's so funny.
Yeah.
I keep going up to the top toolbar. It's right in front of me, right? So here it is. Tell us about this free offering.
So this is the top 5 ways to connect in under 5 minutes. And it's just simple actions to take to make juicy intimacy fast, because we don't always have a lot of time in our daily lives. So that's free to you. You can just click on it and it comes right to your inbox. And also I have on there, if you look at the top, the Puran meditation. This is a 30-minute meditation that is made to make serotonin in your brain and help you sleep. And it was done by live musicians that did music to create that serotonin. And so just a place to find that inner divinity with the Puran meditation.
Beautiful. And now, are you going to be in the Bay Area for a while, or are you going to be going back to Hawaii soon?
I'm traveling a lot. I taught a workshop in Germany and I've been here, but I will be going to Hawaii next week for the foreseeable next months, but here in Arizona, and I've been in Salt Lake, Utah too.
Beautiful. And I certainly want to promote Paul for a moment. And so, again, I've put these in the chat box, but for those of you who are watching, tell us about this, the Argue Less, Love More.net. Now that's Paul's book, but you've got a new website here, which is The Bridge. So tell us what this is all about.
Well, Scott, one of the things that I noticed in my patterns, that there were certain patterns that would trigger people and destroy relationships or destroy communication. So if you tap one of these triggers, it shuts down open and honest communication. And what I wanted to see is, what are those patterns? And I identified 5 of them. So if I was you, I would want, you, all of you, including myself, want to know what those triggers are so I could avoid triggering people without having to avoid conversations. So I wrote a book on it, and I happen to make those mistakes a lot of times. So what I decided to do is something new and ridiculous, which is I ordered 100 of my own books, and I'm going to give them away to people when they go to that website. It's called Free Plus Shipping. The book is free, and there's a shipping cost, shipping and handling, $6.95. So you can go get it on Amazon for $20 in shipping, or I will ship it to you from my living room. Just cover the cost for the shipping. And when you get on there, just after you go through that, you can actually sign up for a session with Heidi or me. We're both on there once you go past that. And there's also, when you did the last event in Sedona, I came and taught about intimacy. And so that Andrew filmed it, and that's available there too. So if you want to get your book, this is a grand experiment. I may end up with 100 books and nobody wants it, or I could have this big rush on books tonight and I'll be all done with them tomorrow, but I'll be mailing them out from my own house. So it's going to take 2 to 3 weeks. And thank you so much. And I think it's critical. I reread my own book every year or two because it's a reminder for me. I wrote this book for me, really. And I wish I had gotten this 30 years ago.
It's the fundamentals, Paul. Everyone should have a copy of that in their home, and something I use in every talk that I do about communication or with couples. It's amazing.
Wow. Well, thank you. And don't go away, because Paul and Heidi and Steve Rowland are all going to be with us as we kind of go into our kind of conclusion of the show. We're going to have a panel conversation. So any thoughts, comments, questions that you have, pop them in the chat box, and I'm going to take a look at them. We are going to go to a music video that was actually done on Saturday Night Alive, the Global Peace Tribe, the original Global Peace Tribe show, with Deva Pramod and Miten. They were on the show 3 times. This is one of the times they were on. Originally, I was going to show the prelude to their video where they talk about their relationship. But that's about 10 minutes and we're running over time. So I'm going to give you the 1-minute cliff notes of what they said. They talked about, they've been together since she was in her very early 20s. And he's about 20 years older than she is. And they've been together for almost 30 years now. And they have obviously been lovers, music artists together, living together, working together, traveling together. And they talked about how they almost never argue, because very much of what Eden was saying at the beginning of the show, when I asked her that question, she talked about being in the presence, being in that flow. And because they both came together in the Osho community and through spiritual community, they dedicated their relationship to the presence. And they didn't fall into the trap of constantly arguing and processing about the differences, or you should be this, or we should do that, but instead just always turning it over to God, always turning it over to life, always turning it over to the presence. And here they are. They've created so many albums. So many of us have been listening to their music for so long. They travel the world, they do concerts, and they're still very, very happy together, and despite a big age difference. So they're quite beautiful. And so we're going to play this video that they created for us when they were live on Saturday Night Live, the Global Peace Tribe. So give me a moment to cue it up here. And then when we come back, we are going to have kind of a final conversation with Eden and Heidi and Paul and Steve and myself. And certainly any comments, any thoughts, questions that people have on this topic. It's a live topic. There have been some wonderful comments already in the chat box that I'll reference. So anyway, here we go with David Pramod and Miten.
Namaste. Namaste. This is a song by Jal Utah. Radhe, Radhe, Radhe Govinda. 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 Radhe, Radhe, Radhe Gopal. Radhe, Radhe, Radhe Govinda. Radhe, Radhe, Radhe Gopal. Let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart shine through. Let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart shine through. Love upon love upon love, all hearts beating as one. Light upon light upon light, our beloved friend Maniko. Let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart shine through. Let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart shine through. Love upon love upon love, all hearts beating as one. Light upon light upon light, all disappear into one. Radhe, Radhe, Radhe Govinda. Radhe, Radhe, Radhe Govinda. Radhe, Radhe, Radhe Govinda. Radhe, Radhe, Radhe Govinda. Join us, we sing together. Radhe, Radhe, Radhe Govinda. 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 Radhe, Radhe, Radhe Gopal. Radhe, Radhe, Radhe Govinda. Radhe, Radhe, Radhe Gopal. Living in the miracle zone. This is really for me how I tune into the miracle zone, is to lift my spirit up beyond the busyness of the mind and the traffic and the stuff that's going on, and lifting myself up. And the way that comes easiest for me is to sing, and also to lift my gaze up to my third eye chakra, just with an om. And it just changes the energy inside of me, and it lifts me to a higher plane, so I can see everything a little bit more from a distance, a bit more like the witness, the watcher on the hill. Mm-hmm. So just if we forget everything, if we just have that om sound in our hearts and our minds to remember, it's so precious, so easy, just the om. Would you sing? And just the Om basically is breath made audible. And I wanted to play this song for you because it's a song that I wrote for my grandchild, and it's called "Don't Despair, Prepare for a Miracle." I think it's I wanted to give him as much good advice as I could in one song, I wish you love, I wish you good health, I wish you the company of your own true self, I wish you peace when the day is done, when the shadows fall and the evening comes. This is my prayer, don't despair now, prepare for a miracle. This is my prayer, don't despair, prepare for a miracle. It's just a breath away. It's just a breath away. I wish you the comfort of a mother's touch, reaching out your hand in love. It can mean so much. And I wish you a special friend, your secrets to hold as you travel through life and your stories unfold. This is my prayer, don't despair, prepare for a miracle. This is my prayer, don't despair, prepare for a miracle. Well, it's just a breath away. Just a breath away. And I wish you the courage to really love, to keep your heart open when life gets rough. And I pray this song will touch your heart someday, so we'll be together some way, even though we're far apart. This is my prayer, this is my prayer, don't despair, prepare for a miracle. This is my prayer now, don't despair, prepare for a miracle. Oh, it's just a breath away, just a breath away, yeah. So never give up, never give up. Never give up, never give up. Prepare for a miracle. Never give up, never give up. Prepare for a miracle. It's just a breath away. Just a breath away.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, beloved Saturday Night Alive community. All love and all blessings from Costa Rica. Namaste. Love you. Namaste.
Ah,
So good. High frequency. It felt like Deva was responding to Doreena's question.
yeah, yeah. I started singing along with them, which is wonderful. Uh, and there's a big flicking sound. Not sure what that was. Okay. Anyway, always a reminder people to keep yourselves muted. So we're going to bring back our wonderful presenters, Paul Sterling. And in fact, actually, let's do it this way. Let's do spotlights. That's better. So I'm going to remove that. And there's Eden. And here's Heidi.
Can you hear
And
me
here's
okay,
Paul.
Scott? My earphones just died, so am I good?
Ah, that's probably what the clicking sound was.
Yeah,
Was the
sorry about that. I was
we witnessed the death of an earphone.
AirPods. I was saying I felt like Deva was responding to Doreena's question directly. It was so profound. I don't know if you caught that above. Doreena's question was, how do we embody this most beneficial ways to embody the divine unity and embrace the duality at the same time? And then Deva spoke to the Om, and she spoke to the watcher on the hill of the third eye as if she had heard the question. It was great.
Isn't that cool that 2 years ago she answered the question of today, right?
Perfect.
The magic of Zoom. Well, that's a good question for everybody. Anybody else want to provide a response to that? And I'll read it again. What have you found to be the most beneficial ways to embody the divine unity while embracing your duality at the same time in everyday life?
Well, I'll dive in a little bit. You know, there's this triangle that I originally learned it when I was working with Tony Robbins. He had it a little bit different, but we have the results are based on our beliefs, which are based on our action. So actually it's like, so results, action, beliefs. And if we believe that we're supposed to be doing everything the same and we're not supposed to have duality, then any duality is an affront to me. If I believe that duality is part of the whole process, then I go, oh, things are happening the way it should be. So if I see I'm out here and there's snow, if I don't expect snow, I'm upset that there's snow. If I do expect snow, then it's like part of the whole thing. And what are our beliefs about upsets and misunderstandings? And going back to, I think, what was Stephen was saying, they're part of the process. And I think Eden was saying it too, that if we expect it, then we're not shocked and surprised by it. Oh, you have a different opinion? Let me understand your opinion. And we lean in versus, oh my God, it's an offense to me. There's only one opinion allowed in the house. And that was somewhat how I grew up. Like my dad ruled. He was a liberal, hippie, tough Irish badass. And he ruled with a bit of an iron fist. And it was like, yeah, other's opinions is stupid. So there was no room for that conversation. So that's one idea there, Scott. Oops.
I was muted. Thank you, Paul. Stephen, do you want to tackle that question?
Yeah. To me, it's really about going through the beautiful process of choosing our own adventure of what our spiritual practice looks like. You know, we live in such a blessed and privileged time to have so many different flavors of spirituality available to us, and like that, like the knowledge and wisdom of those traditions available to us. And so, yeah, really, it's about just kind of playing, like just get in the sandbox and trying a bunch of spiritual practices. You know, there's like, it could be as simple as having a cup of coffee or tea and appreciating the sacredness of the plant and the sacredness of your body, and how as we ingest the tea or whatever it is that we're consuming, that there's like a sacred symbiotic relationship there that's like deeply holy. And just like being in the embodied acknowledgement of that, like it could be as simple as having a cup of coffee, or, you know, chanting mantras or meditation, prayer. Yeah, like discovering more about spirit animals, or, you know, like whatever your flavor and expression is. You know, like I said earlier, like I lean more towards tantric philosophy, and sort of modern tantra places a high value on the sacredness of our sexual energy, and so being in the experience of feeling our sexual energy alive in our body is a deeply meditative and prayerful, sacred experience of just acknowledging sacred life force moving through us that has the power and capacity to create new life. Like, So yeah, just get in the sandbox and play and choose your own adventure. That's what came up for me with that question.
I would love to share on that, Scott. I think I want to think of complicated answers, but the first thing that came to me is practicing presence, and it's so simple and not easy at all. I'm a person that is so busy being somewhere else. I literally have to sometimes say, okay, I'm washing my hands. I feel the water on my hands. I'm driving my car. I feel my hands on the wheel. And so practicing presence and continuing to arrive again and again. And I think along with presence comes acceptance, because in the human condition, we spend so much time in denial and avoidance because sometimes life is hard and sometimes it's painful. So denial and avoidance keep us often from presence. That's that resistance that we come up against. And so acceptance, I think sometimes we avoid acceptance because it takes responsibility and action. And sometimes acceptance means loss. We have to quit doing something or quit being around somebody. If we really accept what is the truth, it's not always a fit for us to be in the face of it. So we need to move away from it. So I think that's where denial and avoidance come in. So presence and acceptance, those are my simple but not so easy answers.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. I just want to reflect that all three of you, Paul, with looking at the beliefs, looking at our expectations, and with Stephen really honoring the sacredness and the life force energy and coming back to presence, Heidi, these are all practices that I also really resonate with. And when I was witnessing David Permal and Mitten, I was just aware of the power of our own voice and sound to bring us to presence, to move that energy and to open the channel to calm the mind and kind of keep our emotions flowing, not getting stuck in resistance, and raise our frequency. And so I feel like there's some real deep wisdom as a practice in holy sound, and whether that's the Om, like Deva said, or finding just the resonance of your own voice when you find yourself resisting what is, when you find, oh, my tail is tucked and I'm holding my breath and I feel disconnected from the beloved, within, without. How do I bring myself back to my home and my heart and my Om, and get here now again, to begin again and again? That's what I would offer.
Eden, while the spotlight's on you, I'm recalling that you have a wonderful part of your, I just went to your website again, and you've got a wonderful, one of your many courses is balancing the masculine and feminine polarity. And I remember we did a show where you talked about your sun heart. Tell us a little bit about this, please.
Yeah, this came after a personal, what I would call deep, dark night of the soul, where, kind of like Stephen was saying, the trauma sometimes is the portal to the grace. The suffering is the portal to the grace. I had a mystical experience from a dark night where I really found that beloved within, almost like a soul voice that for me was a very masculine presence within. And in Jungian psychology, they talk about our anima and our animus being women having the animus, the opposite sex, as a soul essence, and men having an anima, which is the divine feminine within. And I decided to create this journey through honoring both the masculine and feminine archetypes and practices to feel, as men and women, the opposite essence in us, and to deepen with that, so that we're not projecting those kind of fragments and splits outside onto the opposite sex as much unconsciously. We're really owning where we're in maybe what we call the shadow sides, the polarities that are out of balance, and bringing them into wholeness within. So it's about meeting that wholeness, that divine beloved within, so that you can really recognize it all around and in other. And it's a 13-week course. It's a deep dive into practices, much like I offered in the beginning of our show, where you're going to have a direct embodied experience of these archetypal energies in yourself, just like the beloved is in you. You will feel it. So it's a very fun way to connect and journey in that space with the beloved.
So again, when you go to her website, and then you go to her courses, that's where you'll find it. And then it says here, click here to join me for a free live spiritual masterclass. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's this beautiful video that people can just click on and get a taste of what you're sharing right now.
Beautiful, Scott. I was told by several of our participants that the quiz has a glitch right now. So my assistant is on it. She's like fixing whatever that is. And I think that connecting for that free spiritual masterclass is another great way to just come in and be informed about when that's coming up. That will be on Imbolc, which is ancient honoring of the time of planting seeds before the spring equinox. And I'm going to be doing a live call that I would love to share with all of you. It'd be wonderful to see you again.
Wonderful. And we'll definitely let people know about that. And I'm going to ask one last question to everybody, but a reminder, Eden, I'd love for you to read a little bit of that that we had talked about.
Yeah, the Anamkara, it came up in our call earlier around really seeing the other as your soul friend, even when they're triggering the heck out of you, especially when we're in intimacy and we're resisting what's coming up, to flip it and really see, oh, this is my sacred mirror. This is my soul friend. This is my teacher. And this phrase Anamkara came to me years ago, and I didn't really deepen with it until recently. It's a Celtic expression that really means soul friend. It's a beautiful, deep understanding of a spiritual friendship and a soul love. The word Anam is the soul, and then, like I was saying, the anima, and then Kara, the friend, like dear one. So in the early Celtic spiritual traditions, a person who acted as a guide, a companion, or a spiritual teacher was called an Anamkara. It referred to someone with who you could reveal the hidden intimacies of your life and be totally transparent and vulnerable in the highest frequency of that word. With your Anamkara, you shared your heart, your mind, and it was an act of recognition and belonging. When you had an Anamkara, your friendship cut across all convention, morality, and superficiality. You were joined in an ancient, eternal way with the friend of your soul. There were no set limitations of space or time on this friendship, meaning you could go a long time without speaking and it was still as alive and deep instantly. There is no cage for the soul. The soul is a divine light that flows into you and into the other. The art of belonging is awakened and fostered in this special companionship. In this love, you're understood without mask or pretension. By the way, most of this I'm actually reading from a profound quote by the poet, the Irish poet John O'Donoghue. So his writing on this has been the most wonderful, illuminating writing on the Anamkara that I've found. And you can look that up yourself. John O'Donoghue has amazing books, and you can find this online about the Anamkara, A-N-A-M, and then C-A-R-A. So yeah, it goes on. It's very long. I would say that this Anamkara perspective is so sublime because it permits us to enter the unity with other in an ancient art of soul friendship and belonging. A friend who awakens your life in order for you to free the wild possibilities in you. And yeah, it's a long, beautiful quote by John O'Donoghue, so you can find that.
Beautiful. It's a blessing. And, I when she shared that with me, I really wanted to share it because I know so many of us have soul friendships like that. And as somebody who's single, I'm so grateful for the Anamkara that I share with many, actually. And so it's a beautiful thing. I'm going to ask each person one final question, and then we're going to conclude with an Om Shore song. Steve Rowland, I'm putting the spotlight on you. One of our Zoom members who comes every week, Dia, writes, Stephen brings a delightful balance to the evening's wonderful presenters. I am an armchair science spirituality student. Thank you for another dynamite show. So I want to make sure that you saw that, Stephen. And the final question actually comes from one of our Facebook people, and that is wanting more to know about the polarity within ourselves, about now that we're in a time where we're changing gentrification, and how do people relate to the inner masculine and inner feminine and the polarity of that within.
Mm-hmm. So just to make sure I heard you correctly, you said a change in genderfication?
Well, I added, the question was about the inner masculine and inner divine, but I want to acknowledge that we're living in a time when we're changing our ideas very much about gender. So that was a Scott add-on.
Yeah, it's really rich, and I'm really glad that you added that piece, because I think like the more traditional way of looking at it is the kind of the concept of the inner union, where there's the divine masculine, the divine feminine within, and there's like I've heard it so beautifully poetically stated that they Father Sky and Mother Earth. Father Sky comes down through the crown and Mother Earth comes up through the root, and then they weave through the chakras and kind of meet together and make love in the heart. And like I personally adore that framework, mostly because of just how deeply Indian spirituality, particularly Hinduism and tantric philosophy, just speaks to my core. And it's also important to make room that we're kind of in this trailblazing time where there's this blossoming of new frames of how one relates with their gender. And yeah, so, you know, for me, the conversation is like, how do we make room for all of it? You know, it's like the inner union, the divine masculine, divine feminine within is such a beautiful practice, because it really unites two sacred polarities that are present. And to be quite frank, I've been using the terms masculine and feminine less. I personally prefer a framework of yang and yin, because it really speaks to what polarity is actually about. Coming back to the science piece, you know, I like to look at the atom, which is just the perfect example of what polarity is, where you have a proton that projects an electrical charge. There's like a giving outward offering of a charge. And then you have the electron, the negative polarity, which receives that charge. And that dance between giving and receiving between the proton and electron is called electromagnetism, which is the force that holds all of matter together. So, you know, at like the most fundamental particles of existence, the atom, the dance between giving an outward projection of an offering and the receiving and bringing that in, it gives us our physical universe. And how that manifests in human sexuality is also quite apparent. There's like a giving and a receiving in a way that gives and creates life. So, you know, like that yang offering outward and the yin receiving inward is just like such a sacred dance. And you know, I actually really treasure kind of finding playful ways to celebrate that too. You know, it's like going and, you know, inserting your debit or credit card into a machine at the store. It's like a highly erotic experience, you know, and it's sacred. There's like a giving and receiving polarity kind of nature transaction that's happening there. And yeah, just like kind of being in like awestruck beauty for that is a beautiful kind of baseline place to live in. And you know, when it comes to the kind of blossoming of different gender identities that's happening, so and it's like, and I don't think it's a train that's slowing down. You know, there's like all of these people who are showing up with like, hey, this framework actually doesn't resonate with me, but I found this other one that kind of does, and I'd really like to be in that and be accepted in that. So I just have a value for making room for all of it. And you know, if the structure of divine masculine and divine feminine polarity doesn't resonate with someone, but something else does, like, how can we make that okay and love them right where they're at in that? So that's how I hold it.
Beautiful. Thank you,
Love
Steve.
that, Stephen. So resonant.
Thank you, Stephen, for being with us tonight. Definitely look forward to February 19th. And again, one last reminder, everybody, if you haven't already, please sign up for RelationFlix. All these amazing teachers, you've seen some of them on the show. There's so much content in RelationFlix. It honestly could put many of us out of business because you can get so many of your questions answered directly just by going to RelationFlix. And again, there's so many topics. So great job putting this together, Stephen. And I always enjoy working with you.
Likewise, Scott. Thank you.
Well, let's bring on Heidi. Heidi, you can either respond to that question or anything you'd like to share as kind of your closing thoughts for the evening.
I always love talking about polarity and the divine masculine and feminine, and we can't give at the same time we're receiving. And there's a funny thing Paul did with me years ago about I love you. And he handed me a pen and he said, I love you. And then he says, hand it back and say, I love you, because we say, I love you too. So he hands it to me and we go back and forth and nobody's receiving, like really taking in the gift of I love you, right? You're just giving it right back. Well, I love you too. And so the divine masculine and feminine to me is that polarity of giving and receiving, penetration and entering, and we have that within our own bodies. So I like to think of it like a battery. It was mentioned, like, how is that an opposite pole? And in our bodies, we have negative, neutral, and positive poles. And if we're running only in our feminine, then our masculine is weak and our battery is out of balance and we're not supercharged energetically and vibrationally and in our physical body. And if we are balanced in our masculine, feminine within ourselves, it's like having a charged battery. And there's a unique thing of bodies coming together. And this can happen with same-sex couples too, with different chakra points, but it's playing with the negative, positive, and neutral poles and actually uniting them in a way that recharges the batteries energetically, physically, spiritually within the body. So I love the topic of masculine and feminine and energetic poles in the body, and how do we charge them ourselves? How do we stay plugged in? It's like having a vacuum. If you're not plugged into the source of electricity, you're not broken, you're just not plugged in, so you're totally inefficient. So learning how to plug in to yourselves, to the divine, and to others makes you a lot more efficient in life. I'll end it on a very practical note.
I love that. And a reminder, you can get a lot of wonderful things by going to her website, HeidiLove.com. And again, click right here, get it now. And that's where you get it gets you started on experiencing more of Heidi. It's always a pleasure to be with you, Heidi. Thank you so much. All right. And Mr. Sterling, your final thoughts?
Well, Scott, I forgot how international your show is. So my offer for the book is only for people in the US because that's the shipping I can do. So what I did is I put in there, and I'm going to talk to my tech guy, Sherman, who's a wizard. He's going to help me tomorrow put up something where people can get the ebook from anywhere in the world, and they'll just get it for $2.97 or something like that. And that will be set up tomorrow. And so I'm going to put a post up there.
Great.
And
then people go to Argue Less, Love More. And that's where they get the free ebook. I will go again to the website. Here it is.
There's nothing there they can get the free ebook, because I didn't even think about it until I'm like, oh my God, half this group listening tonight is from all around the world. They're not here in this limited place called the USA, or unlimited place. But I put in the comments
okay,
that they can go there, and if they send my email, Sterling, here I am broadcasting it. Please no spam. Sterling07@gmail.com. Send me a note. I'll send them the link. The link's not live until tomorrow. And my thought is I want to get away from the world of make wrong. And there's actually some make wrong that happens about non-duality. Like, we're not supposed to have duality. I enjoy the hell out of being a guy and opening a door for a woman that they're still like, and I'm also 6'3", I'm big and strong. And it's like, what I see is that I think the divine masculine is to create a space for the divine feminine to feel safe. That we don't have to worry about things, that we're not using our power over, but we're using our power to help create. And I like polarity. I like the movement of energy, that not the neutralization of it. But let's see how we can do this dance together and dance inside. So it's like, not to make it wrong. And if we enjoy being in the masculine, feminine, or however we want to describe these energies that keep life moving. So
Beautiful.
That's it. And thank you, Scott and Eden and all the fellow presenters for creating a safe space for all of this to happen.
Well, thank you, Paul. And Dr. Laura says that she loves you and adores the hell out of guys who open the doors for her. So there you go. And it's kind of, it goes back to what Stephen was saying. It's like we all have our own flow. There have been quite a few comments, Eden, you probably have seen them, about people that are more wanting to go beyond. We're not seeing it as divine feminine or divine masculine.
And honoring the androgyne, the sacred androgyne. I actually present very, very feminine physically, and I feel very androgynous on the inside. And I don't think that the way we feel as far as gender is a direct reflection of sexual preferences. It's all so malleable and varied and full spectrum. I loved what Stephen was saying about the yin and the yang, and really honoring this ancient wisdom that it takes this kind of outward electric field that's thrusting one way, spiraling one way, and the inward gravitational magnetic field spiraling the other way to move in a way that creates life, that creates reality in 3D. And what I think we've seen a lot of in our world and the systems that we've been imprinted by is kind of overblown yang and collapsed yin in a lot of people and culture. And when I think of that, I think of when we talk about, down with the patriarchy. Well, the real patriarchy is supposed to be these like noble founding fathers of guidance and protection and love and wisdom. But what we're really saying is we need to balance out this overblown yang, much like in Chinese medicine, where the yang is the fire in the air that's destructive. It's like raging, burning up, and consumptive. And the overblown or collapsed yin is the water in the earth that's soggy and boggy and stuck and victimized or not able to move. So to come into balance, all of us, with these elemental forces and the yin and the yang of it is what the invitation is. Whatever we call our gender doesn't matter, or it matters. It's beautiful, the spectrum. There's not a make wrong, as Paul was saying. It's like yes to all of it, honoring unity, recognizing divine unity and multiplicity, the beauty of the vast spectrum possible here. That's the invitation. Yeah.
That's beautifully stated. And I so love doing shows with you. I really enjoy it a lot.
This has been so wonderful.
And it's been really beautiful. And I'm seeing a lot of people are really getting a lot out of it. And a big thank you to all of our viewers watching. A couple of announcements. Tomorrow, again, on my Secret Sunday show, we are really blessed. Piper and Eden, Piper and Ivy, travel all over the world doing these incredible soundscape experiences. And they are doing something very unique for us tomorrow, which is going to be their sacred sound, but also they've got a very unique visual that's going to go along with some of it. So it's going to be a very amazing experience of the senses. So that's going to be on the Sacred Sunday show tomorrow. And I also wanted to let everybody know, so what's emerging is this week-long experience that's going to be taking place in Los Angeles. And it'll kind of start with, on March 28th, what's called the LA Convergence. And let me bring that up for everybody. I'll be there, of course. Pato and Antoinette will be there. Now, if you want to come, it's important to get your tickets because there are a limited number of tickets. It's going to go from 12 noon until 10 p.m. It's in downtown LA at the Wisdom. And I will be promoting this over the next few weeks because it's something I'm helping to co-create, but definitely get your tickets because it will sell out. And then from there, we're going to roll into this whole series of experiences. Pato and Antoinette are going to do a land journey. Kristen Hoffman will be with us live. She's going to do her concert. Shri and Kira are coming up from Ecuador, first time in the United States in 12 years. They're going to lead a day-long event. And of course, this will all be part of a Global Peace Tribe retreat. Also, Tangela is looking at creating a psychic fair. That'll happen, just like we had a psychic fair as part of the Sedona retreat. So definitely start making your plans to be in Southern California from approximately, get there on March 27th, the day before the Wisdom event, until April 2nd or 3rd. Who knows, maybe we can even draw Eden Amador down from the Bay Area for it, if we're really lucky. So
that sounds amazing, Scott. I love that.
It's going to be really fun. It's going to be a fun week. Your final thoughts before we go to Omushar.
Did Omushar hear?
Oh no, I said, I was asking you for your final thoughts before we go to Omushar.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were asking Omushar.
It was funny because it was like I asked you and you looked up to the heavens. So it's just like looking for the channeling to come down.
Yes. So my final thoughts are, it's more feelings. I'm just feeling lit up. I'm feeling full of just gratitude and inspiration, and how these conversations are so important and alive, and they're going to just keep expanding, and how we're rippling this light together. Everyone that's been here, that's participated, we are so blessed. These are my thoughts are just such a resonant yay and yes and thank you.
Thank you, Eden. Hey, I want to give a shout out to a couple of the people that are with us. Connie and Andrew, who always put in beautiful comments. Our newlyweds, there they are. Thank you for all your wonderful comments. Really beautiful. And our wonderful wild abbot, the wild abbot of the Mystic Monastery, Jerry Anderson. And he's in Ecuador now. He's with Shri and Kira in Ecuador. And he and Shri and Kira are going to drop in to our Sacred Sunday show tomorrow and share a little bit about what's happening in Ecuador and with the Mystic Monastery and building a peace pyramid now. So we're looking forward to seeing you tomorrow, Jerry.
I'm excited. This is a most amazing place.
Yeah. Well, we look forward to hearing your immediate experience of it. And I'll bring up Heidi. I see that Heidi's still with us. Paul is still with us. And so, again, thank you very much. I don't know if Stephen is still with us. I'll see if I can find him real quickly. All right, well, we're going to go to Omushar to close us out. Hey, brother.
Hey, brother. So thank
Another
you.
Wonderful show.
Thank you all so much for what's been happening tonight. I'm so stirred. I'm so grateful. And as I put in the chat earlier, it's like I write things down as we go through, and I have heart forward and then denial and avoidance on both sides of this page. And I'm realizing how I've been going heart forward and denying and avoiding when hard stuff comes up. And so I'm so happy to know that there is a way through all of this. And the song I'm going to sing is called One Breath. And let's just take a moment, hands on hearts, and breathe. And whatever we're doing, just let it go. And all expectation anything that is conflicting our minds, just let them go. Let's just breathe through our hearts as I sing this song to us all. Thank you, Scott. Thank you. I think we're good. I believe in true love. It's opened up my heart, leading me, leading you to new beginnings. And I believe in the one love that takes you by the hand, and you hear in a whisper I've something to show you. Each day a new creation, a golden path before us. Our angel wings, they open and soar us to new heights of understanding. Love. And I believe in the one voice, the spirit of our land, blowing me, blowing you, home to forever. And I perceive, not so far away, a world that breathes as one. So I live for this day and no more tomorrows. Each day a new creation, a golden path before us. Our angel wings, they open and soar us to new heights of understanding. Each day a new creation, a golden path before us. Our angel wings, they open and soar us to new heights of understanding. Oh, no time.
Gallery view time, blessings and twinkles. Dancing and moving and grooving. You know, we didn't have two of our main dancers.
I know. Everyone else is making it up for it famously. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Adora, for getting up and moving and grooving. And yes, I think we all really appreciate also our seeing the teddy bear and the candle that Sylvia provides. So thank you, Omashar. And of course, we'll see Omashar tomorrow morning, along with our amazing sacred sound healers. It's been a beautiful show. Thank you again, Paul and Stephen and Heidi and Raggio, and of course, our amazing co-host, Eden Amadora. God's blessings, everybody. Have a beautiful evening. Get a good night's rest and come on back for tomorrow's Sacred Sunday show.
Bye, everybody.
I'll go to gallery view one last time. Good night, everybody. Have a beautiful evening.